What is going on, Neon Nation? We're back with the Cyberpunk 2077 analysis video after the surprise special edition of Night City Wire was dropped early yesterday morning, showcasing the game on the Xbox One X and Series X. Yes, there will still be a Night City Wire on the 19th, which we will again be streaming, and yes, we will see PS4 gameplay soon as well. With that being said, let's get into the analysis on the gameplay we've seen, which actually has a fair bit of noteworthy details to glean over. Opening up the trailer and freezing the frame, we have this nomad woman with a cyber arm walking past us on the street, as well as a larger man in the back with some tattoos reminiscent of the Yakuza. The Yakuza is a prominent crime syndicate in the Cyberpunk IP, so it does seem likely that he may be a member. We pass a vending machine with a face, and we know that Brian Deckhart from Detroit Become Human is the voice of a sentient vending machine and will be in one of the quests, so maybe machines with little robot faces will be similar. As we walk by the woman, we see a prompt where we can stop NPCs and talk, although it's unclear if you can do this with all the NPCs in Night City. They might only say a blurb or two, similarly to how NPCs responded in The Witcher. You can choose to draw your gun at any moment, but again, this is an RPG, so expect harsher consequences than a game like GTA. This is likely Tiger Claw's territory based on the graffiti on the wall and on the actual road, which means that this is also Westbrook. On the bottom left, we have the D-pad prompts to summon your car, as well as to check your phone, which has 2 unread messages. 60 meters away, we also have a clothing store. A little further along in the trailer, and we have this ad for Real Water, a new ad that looks stocks or business related, and the ad for Bolshevik Vodka, which has the slogan so strong that it glows. Zooming in quite a bit farther, we have Bayside Cache on the far end of the road, something that we passed in the Tiger Claws section from the Gangs of Night City trailer. Rounding the bend, we see a sign for Connaught Street, and our car is parked smack dab in the middle of the road. This is the Quadra X9 with the SoCal 77 license plate, and I'm fairly sure that this is a Tiger Claws variant based on the design, although there is a new USA flag on the roof, so it's kind of a toss-up. At 107, we have a store called Free City Beauty, which is most likely a biosculpting parlor. This is likely where you can go for aesthetic upgrades to your character, and aligns nicely with the source in that augmenting your looks is like going for a haircut or a manicure. We have an ad for Slaughterhouse, which looks like it may be a burger joint or pub, and the old Nicola ad has been changed to Naranhiba Cola. Baskin Undercover Inc. is another interesting shop, and I really hope they're devoted to investigating into just how Carol killed her first husband. Passing by some signs, we have a new one for bottom of the barrel weapon manufacturer Dara, as well as the Eldorado pawn shop, which we can see in V's mega building. Devs have mentioned that there will be a way to unload all of your junk to sell, and a pawn shop would be the perfect place to do this. At 126, as we leave the Lizzie's bar, we catch a glimpse of a Mox member that we have seen before in a prior trailer behind the screen of some computers. Taking a look at the mini-map in the top right hand corner, this area is a safe zone, although later on we will see some hostile spots. The Us Cracks pop group has a prominent ad in the bar, and there's an icon which looks like a chip or slot to jack into on the table in yellow. This could be additional information for our codex, since these seem to all be pointing at books or tablets. Mox bouncers are shown, and if you're wondering why they have the plastic look to them, it's because of their specialized real skin tech that gives them the appearance of porcelain dolls. The automatic love quest has you going to the mega building H8, and as you can see in the background, we are on Sutter Street. At 2 minutes in, we have an ad for current mayor of Night City, Lucius Rhine, who's probably coming to the end of his term. In ads we've seen on Night City Love, he does seem to back candidate Walden Holt over Perales. Our UI indicates that we are now in Watson, and we see the new Nicola ad off to the right as well. We see Mox's graffiti, and you'll know what district you're in based on seeing Gang's graffiti on the buildings. At 2:13, we see an ad for Tektronica, one of the weapon manufacturers in 2077, as well as one for Sweet Clean Speed. You can see them much better in this screenshot. We pass an auto checker, which might be where we can take our vehicles to repair them, since yes, vehicle damage is a feature, and across the street we have a Kang Tao ad with the tagline, "You shoot, we aim." We pass Duzoy Street before we approach the Watson Bridge, and an open vista of the dense brutalist skyscrapers of Night City. Wakaka Okada ends up butt dialing us, and we inevitably pick up, and apparently she's the lady of the Westbrook estate. An NCPD AV takes a sharp turn in the skies, likely going to survey another area of the city, as we turn the corner to approach the mega building. Wakako also mentions that we must, quote, settle the accounts for Sandra Dorset, who's actually the woman we're attempting to rescue in the scavenger lair, so it seems like they're somehow connected. We've seen all of these ads before, including Zeigdish, Combat Cab, Kumquatty, and the Passion Braindance ad. Driving deeper into the city, we have an icon above these NPCs, indicating their damage type. Bullets seem to indicate ranged enemies, whereas later on we do see a fist icon which likely indicates melee enemies. You do also get text from fixers indicating their preferences on how you handle certain jobs. At 2:55 we pass a fast travel terminal, which is much larger than I expected and indicated by the blue markers, before we approach Poplar Street, which we have seen in another trailer. At 3 minutes in, we enter an elevator with Johnny Silverhand, and we see an ad for a drink called Body Dog, as well as the Network News 54 logo. On the elevator, we have the option to go to the roof, the Clouds bar, maintenance or ground floor, but we also have the alarm and call buttons as well. Not sure if you can actually use them, but something tells me it's probably not likely. You get into a conversation with Johnny regarding Judy lying to you, and there is a prompt which references the claws links to Arasaka. Tiger claws and the Mox mix like oil and water, so maybe they're using you to chip away at the tiger claws, or to get to their leadership. We pass an NPC asking the real questions before entering the Clouds bar to find Tom. Entering Clouds, we have individual rooms for shacking up with the sex workers of this bar. Before rounding the corner, we see the indicator for loot on the table, which we will see later on when we start dropping some enemies. Entering the next scene and heading deeper into Clouds, you'll notice that this area is now hostile, and you can also see which direction NPCs are facing. Turning the corner, we have an ad for Jingu G, which we did see an outlet for in City Center, as well as a magnifying glass indicating that you can inspect whatever is on this table. An eye icon pops up with the meter that fills up, indicating you've been spotted, but you do eventually dip out of line of sight. Clouds logo is shown as the new area before we meet Woodman, who is chowing down on a burger. This dude looks almost identical to Letho from Assassin of Kings, which is a nice touch by CDPR. Moving into the combat, we have the M2515 Ajax, which appears to be the same weapon used by the NCPD in the Postcards trailer. We have buttons for reloading and a quick melee attack, as well as a grenade and heal inhaler down on the left. V is currently level 8. As we fire on an enemy at the bottom of the stairs, we see a red exclamation bar fill up again, letting you know if you've been spotted. I'd imagine higher tiered enemies or enemies with specific optics bars will fill up more rapidly and will notice your presence quicker. At 5:34 we see one of our shots inflicts a damage over time effect, which is indicated by the poison skull and the timer for the duration. Transitioning to a hand cannon, we see the new, which we did get a brief glimpse of during the Tools of Destruction trailer. Tossing a grenade shows an indicator, and you even shoot one out of the air, prompting an achievement and stunning the enemy in the process, which is denoted by the stars. Pushing forward, you can see a wide variety of the finest dildos Night City has to offer, before interrupting this claw from healing, slicing him to pieces. Take a look at the sword, called the Black Unicorn, which was actually a sword from The Witcher 3. We transition to the red light district, called Jig Jig Street, where we see a lips marker in the back on the NPC indicating a prostitute. Johnny appears on this piece of concrete before we walk up to see a dancer with some fancy inlaid glowing neon augmentations. A handshake icon is also shown, which might be a fixer, and as we approach the sex shop, what else would we see other than a ton of strap-ons? At 6:41, we have some potty humor as well as a prostitute we've seen before in the Gig trailer. A new Got Chrome ad is shown off here as well before we reach the Ripper Doc clinic called Fingers MD, denoted also by this icon. We're stopped by some thugs and an interesting dialogue option that seems to be locked behind strength is shown. In combat, the goons have red outlines because we have scanned them with our cybernetics, and we switch from the new to the Satara, eventually killing the 3 musketeers with a well-placed nade. We get 107 experience into Annihilation, which is a perk that reduces recoil by a certain percentage for a designated amount of time after dismembering enemies. Meeting Fingers, he seems to be a mix between a Ripper Doc and a sex worker. Moving into my personal favorite part, we see someone being dragged into a scav lair. We are reliving this moment in a Braindance editor to find out where it's being recorded. This character is likely a netrunner judging by the suit, which we can see high-tiered Voodoo Boys member Brigitte wearing. These scavs are sporting digital masks to hide their identities, and in the back we see someone dead and stripped of their clothing. Forced into a chair, we get a closer look at the scav woman, who looks almost identical to the one recently shown off in the Run the Jewels music video. We're strapped in by a beefier scav, and on his hands we see the grenade launcher augmentation. What happens next is somewhat up in the air, although something tells me this might be the first time we've seen the Soul Killer used. How the scavengers got their hands on this tech is to be determined, although it really could be any other malicious program or form of torture we have yet to hear about. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more Cyberpunk, join Neon Nation by subscribing to the Neon Arcade.